In this video, I'm going to be showcasing something I've never seen done before, and that is how you can AFK Acheron Mammoths. So if you've been avoiding these things for the Slayer task and it is very interesting for you, make sure you stay tuned. Let's dive in. The requirements that you need will be 96 plus Slayer to be able to even damage the Mammoths. You would also need 90 plus combat skills to make this AFKable. We are going to be using Necromancy, so 90 Necro, 90 Defense, and 90 Constitution. We will also want to have 95 plus Prayer for the Sorrow and Soul Split Curses, 107 Herbler for the Elder Overload Salves, 85 plus Invention so you can perk out your gear, 76 plus Summoning since we will be using a Blood Reaver Familiar with no scrolls in it, and you will also want a full Necromancy tree unlocked so you can use the Reaver Bar that is needed. As for the quest, of course, you will need the Temple S Intestine completed in order to have the Ancient Curses unlocked, and then we're going to want to have Death to the Dorganshun so we can have the Tier 3 Goblin Tech Tree unlocked so we can create an Odak Coil. As for the recommendations, I recommend having 112 plus Invention so you have the ability to create potion reservoirs. After that, tier 2 on the Infernal Puzzle Box, if you have that or all the way up to tier 6, you will have additional damage reduction and damage output to any monster inside of the wilderness. After that, we do have the Stone of the Jaws buff, which all you have to do is run into the Glacier Cavern. You'll gain the buff for 4 hours. And as you see on screen now, we will be in an area where we will gain a 4% buff damage output while fighting the Mammoths. Now, since these things do hit a ton, we're going to be using 4 pieces of the Death Warding Tier 90 set, which is the helm, robe top, robe bottom, and the boots, along with the Tier 90 Death Dealer gloves, so we have a 2% chance of invoking death on each and every one of them. As for the aura, we will be using the Vampirism aura. More healing, the better, especially against these guys, since they do hit a lot, and they have high health points, so you want to be able to make sure you stay alive as much as possible. For the cape, we will be using the Zuck cape. It is a mandatory thing for these guys because they are such high level, and you want to be able to send off death skulls and be able to save adrenaline throughout all of your Revo bar. For the necklace, we will be using an Essence of Finality. This is a mandatory slot item, of course, because you're going to need the Reaper buff in order to keep your accuracy up, and you're going to want the Soul Split buff to gain more health back over time. As for the ring slot, we will be using the Oculus ring since we do have the Finger of Death inside of the Revo bar, so it can help us in the future with the adrenaline. As for the ammo slot, we do have our Nexus in there to hold our ectoplasms and all of the runes we will be using. And for the weapons, we are going to be using the tier 95 weapons to be able to kill them as fast as possible. Now, this goes back to the disclaimer at the very beginning of the video. I don't know if I'm killing them fast enough. So the tier 95s are a mandatory thing to face these things just in case you do kill them fast enough before they use the smash ability. As for the pocket slot, we will be using the Scripture of When God book because AoE damage, especially when you're facing 2 of them at a time. As for the inventory, we have our potion reservoirs, our elder overload salves, our magic note paper since they do drop a lot of tusks and other items that you want to note along the way, our weapon poison plus since they are poisonable, our powder of penances to hold our prayer up, our Odak coil, our blood reaver familiar, and enough ruins to be able to use the Gorok teleport and the ancient Magicka spellbook to be able to go all the way to the end of the wilderness to take you right by the gate where the Mammoths are at. After that, we have our cannonballs for our Odak coil, our spring cleaner since they do drop some alchables that does come handy eventually, and we also have our enhanced Excalibur along with an ancient elven ritual shard. As for the relic powers I was using Persistent Rage, Conservation of Energy, and Death Ward. I had Persistent Rage on here because sometimes there's a chance where you don't get attacked and you might be able to gain more adrenaline while waiting for the next one to attack you. Conservation of Energy is a no-brainer, especially when you're using a Zuck cape along with Death Skulls. And the Death Ward is also on here as almost a mandatory thing since it does damage reduce all of the attacks from the Mammoths. As for the perks on the gear, for the Omniguard, I was using Aftershock 4 Eruptive 2. For the Soulbound Lantern, I was using Precise 6 Aftershock 1. And the Death Warden Rope Bottom, nothing on the top, I was using Crystal Shield 4 Absorbative 4. For the perks, you do not need best in slot perks, but I highly recommend having some sort of damage output like Aftershock, even Aftershock 2 with stuff that's just enough to be able to take them out pretty fast. But again, Crystal Shield 4 and Absorptive 4 is almost a mandatory thing for anything that can hit you hard, and for AFK methods like this, since they do reduce the damage you do take a lot over time. Now, once you're prepared and you have everything that you need, you're just going to use the Gorak teleport. You're going to get teleported all the way out into the wilderness, and then just north past the Living Wyverns, you're going to see a gate that you can go through. Now, the Living Wyvern will be aggressive, so you're going to want to surge and dive as fast as you can, open the gate, and run through it. Now, once you make it through the gate, you're going to run northwest to a spot that you will see rocks in an L-shaped formation, and you're going to run directly into that area. Next thing you want to do is you're going to want to set up your Odak coil in between the two trees that you see me doing right now. Now, this is when you activate everything, your vampirism or your god book, your potion reservoirs, your elder overload salves inside of those potion reservoirs, your weapon poison plus, and we are going to be using the darkness incantation, so make sure that is activated as well. And then you're going to turn on your prayers, which will be sorrow and soul split. Now, once you have everything activated, this is where the interesting part comes in. You're going to turn and activate your Odak coil, and you're going to run directly into the L corner in the back of the tree and the rocks. Now, if your Odak coil does not activate because the mammoth is not close enough, just simply attack one and just let everything happen. Now, the one that you see on the northern side here on our left doesn't always get hit by the Odak coil while doing this method, but eventually it does walk into range to where it does get hit by the Odak coil and does get aggressive to you. As for the revolution bar we will be using Conjure Army with all 4 conjures inside of it: Command Ghost, Death Skulls, Reflect, Command Skeleton, Soul Sap, Resonance, Volley of Souls, Touch of Death, Sacrifice, and Finger of Death. With Reflect and Resonance, along with the Crystal Shield perk and Absorptive perk, this setup is usually really good at tanking almost any type of creature inside of the game. And this Revolution bar seems like it was the best bar that I was able to figure out while doing 6 hours of Mammoths at an AFKable level. Now, while AFKing these guys, you will have to pay attention to your potion reservoirs, which will be every 36 minutes, along with your darkness incantation, which is also every 12 minutes, along with your weapon poison plus, which is also 12 minutes, which does make this a fully AFKable method with the mammoths. And this is a shout out to Decro for the comment on the last video. Now, after doing about an hour of Acheron Mammoths, I got about 183 kills in that hour, which is about 63 more than the RuneScape wiki suggests that you would typically get, while even being extremely active. Now, for the expenses, I'm going to point out the most noticeable ones, which will be your cannonballs and your powder of penances. So they're a little pricey, but it is okay for the type of profits you can actually make. Now, from just a normal loot from the ground and the tusks, I was able to make about 7.9 million GP off of just the drops, along with 572,000 from the spring cleaner with the salvages. That's also not including rare drops you can get from the mammoths, alone with the rare drop tables and the wilderness shared loot table. With that being said, you can look at about 4.7 million GP per hour AFK and Acheron mammoths, and up to about 12 million GP per hour if you get lucky with the rare drops. I would like to also put in that I have not seen any other method like this, so if you guys have seen anybody able to AFK the mammoths, please let me know down in the comments. But I'm hoping right here, this is the first time you guys are able to see an AFKable Acheron mammoth guide. But that does come an end to this video. If you guys found anything interesting or useful, make sure to hit that like button. If you guys are brand new to the channel and you'd like to see more content of the AFKable standards, make sure to hit that sub button. Also hit the notification bell so you guys know when I upload next. But until next time, guys, I hope you stay safe. See ya.